Most ad agency owners never close $10,000 upfront deals, not because they're not good at what they do, but it's because they don't understand power dynamics on sales calls. So if you struggle to close high ticket clients into your AI agency while others are closing $10,000 to $20,000 deals, and you'll get a lot of value from this video because I'm gonna take you through the exact script that I use to scale my agency to $90,000 per month. And just so you know I'm not full of shit, I actually put proof here on the screen. As you can see, we've collected 50 grand in our main payment processor Fanbasis and another 30 grand in Stripe. And we've been on hundreds of these sales calls in my agency and even in my clients' agencies.
Yeah, so I mean, we're on track for like we're on track for about 11.4K. So far we have well, we've signed 4 clients so far. So
With that being said, let's get right into it. So the first thing I need you to understand right now is your sales pitch is probably not the problem. The people you're pitching to though probably is the problem. Because if you're talking to broke or unqualified leads, then nothing I say in this video can help you because you can't close a $10,000 deal talking to people with $500 in their bank account. Before you hop on any sales call, you must filter and qualify every single prospect. And if you skip this, then everything fails. And right now, the main qualification that I have ingrained in my SOPs, my agency is, well, first of all, you know that we run Facebook ads and we have conditional logic in it. And what that allows us to do is, say for instance, we're targeting roofers and we only want to work with roofers who are making over $20,000 per month. That will be our filter. So we'll put a question in our lead form and our Calendly booking form, a question that asks them about how much they're making in revenue. It'll be a multiple choice question. And if they put anything less than 20 grand per month, then they're getting disqualified immediately. So even if they try to book a call with us, we won't see it because why would we want to waste our time talking to someone who doesn't make over 20 grand because they won't have $10,000 to pay for our AI infrastructure, even if it helps them 4 to 5x their revenue. It's also good to filter leads in this way because you train your Metapixel to show your ads to people who are qualified for your offer. And that lets you lower your cost per lead. Now, the next thing we do is as soon as someone books a call with us, we have our commission-based appointment setter call them within 5 minutes of them booking and ask them qualifying questions such as, are they the business owner? Ask about their budget for ads and when they're looking to invest in getting more clients. And we want to see if they're really invested in getting an outcome or if they're just some bored person who wants to see what our offer is about, because we don't want to waste our time talking to tire kickers and people who are not willing to buy. So we have our appointment setter filter them out. And by doing these two things, we disqualify about 50 to 60% of the people that try to speak with us. And we just tell them that we're not a good fit. And you'll see this to be true in the next client case study that I upload if I haven't already posted it. And this actually shifts the power dynamic in our favor. And we've had a lot of people come back after they start making money a few months in. They say, hey, I want to work with you guys because they can't fathom an agency refusing to work with them because they're not the right fit. Imagine them encountering an agency that won't accept their money. It doesn't happen that often. So when they see that we're not desperate for their money and we don't need their business, it gives us this sort of prestige and esteem in their eyes. They must know that we're doing well if we're not, just desperate to work with anyone. And if you're just starting out, you might be hesitant to filter people out, wanting to talk to every lead you can get. I understand that. But as time went on, I understood that there are more than enough people that are qualified for your offer and are interested in working with you. You don't have to talk to people who aren't interested and qualified. All right, now that's out the way. What you have to understand is that in every sales call you get on, there's this invisible psychological fight that's always there. The client is going to want control. They want to decide the direction that the call goes in, but you can't let that happen. You have to stay in control of the call. And if you don't do this, they're just going to dominate the conversation and turn it into a game of 21 questions where it's almost like they're interviewing you and you're just answering to defend yourself instead of you qualifying them and seeing if they're a good fit to work with you. And by letting this happen, you essentially reduce your perceived value in their eyes. And to avoid this happening, you have to keep in mind the whole time that even if you're just starting out and you don't have any clients, you're still a business owner just as much as them. But in this call specifically, you're their business growth consultant because they're on the phone to talk with you about how your offer can help their business. So here's what I say early on to avoid that. I start with the typical small talk, ask about the weather, ask where they're from, things of that nature. And then I tell them, look, the goal of this call is just to ask a few questions, understand where you're at, and to see if what we do is actually a good fit for you. And the truth is we disqualify about 60 to 70% of the people we talk with because not everyone is ready to work with us. And that one sentence alone flips the power dynamic in our favor because it helps them understand again that we don't need their money and we don't need their business. And it makes them feel like they are privileged to be talking to us and they have to prove why they're a good fit to work with us. The more control you have in the beginning and throughout the call, the more control you have at the end when it comes to discussions about whether or not they're going to move forward. If you're into AI like me and you want to scale your AI agency to 10, $20,000 or $30,000 per month, then take a look at the offer we have below. What we do is we help AI agencies scale to multiple six figures using one client acquisition system, one offer, one price point, and two upsells. And we only take a small commission out of it. So if you don't sign any new clients, you don't pay. Simple as that. So if you want to learn more, then click the link below, and you can also check out all the amazing testimonials we have from our students who we've helped scale past 10 grand. Now, do something that isn't talked about enough, in which I consider a make or break to any sales call, and that's showing them social proof. You basically want to bombard the prospect with as much social proof as you can reasonably show them, so you can show them that this is real. You can show them people who are similar to them getting good results, because then you're framing their mindset instead of does this actually work to how can I get results like this that he's showing me. And I can't stress this enough, because the more social proof you show them up front, the less objections they have on the back end, because they now see that because your offer actually works for people similar to them, it has more value. And don't worry if you don't have testimonials, everybody starts without them. But in this game, you need to be playing to win. And I personally, before I had testimonials, I was looking for every advantage. So what I did was partner up with another agency that already had testimonials, and I basically white labeled their service. And this means that the other agency I was working with allowed me to use their testimonials and social proof in my ads and my sales calls, and I just paid them a cut around 40% of whatever I was earning. And I did pay them a decent amount, but in the end it was worth it, because I was able to collect my first 6 to 7K months, and then I was able to go out on my own when I had my own social proof. And since I found it so valuable, I actually made it a part of my offer in my program where I work with other agencies, such that new agencies that join me and are under 10K a month or don't have any social proof can use the social proof of other agencies that I've already worked with to land their first few clients and get their own testimonials. And the takeaway here is that when working with these small local businesses, trust is leverage. And an example I can share here is that when Jake started working with us in March, he literally started running ads on the 20th of March, and by mid-April he collected his first $21,000 within 5 weeks of doing business. And this wouldn't have been possible if he was just starting from scratch with no social proof. And to rationalize this, you have to put yourself in the prospect's shoes, right? Say someone was trying to sell you something for a couple grand and they didn't have any social proof or testimonials or proof that it just works, right? Would you trust them with your money? Probably not. And that's the thing that we're trying to avoid. Another thing I'm mindful of in my sales calls is to not be talking too much, right? The best sales calls, it's when it's 70% of them talking and the rest 30% is me talking, right? It should be them telling me about their current pains, their current situations, and where they want to be. Because the more context I take in from them, the more ammo I have later on the sales call when I'm positioning my offer as that bridge between the gap of where they are and where they want to be. So you should be leading by asking them questions, and that's it, right? You want to ask them the hard questions. What inspired you to hop on this call? What made you click on the ad? What made you want to book a call? Things of that nature. And then you can also use the answers to these questions in your front-end marketing again, because you get to understand your ICP a bit better. Then you want to ask them some questions about their business, understand what's broken, understand where the leads are coming from, what the issue is in their business, and where they're trying to go. Because if you don't understand their goals, you can't possibly position your offer as what is going to get them to their goals, right? And when you're asking these questions, please don't think about it from the perspective of, oh, I have to ask these 5 questions in this order. Like, that's not how it should be. Your questions are just guidelines for things that you want to cover in the conversation at large. The purpose of me asking them these questions, like trying to figure out what their struggles are, what they've tried before, why they even need a solution like what I'm offering, is to make them sell themselves. It's a lot better when the prospect is already convinced that they need your solution versus you trying to convince them. Now, after you've gone through that back and forth, what you want to do is rephrase what they've told you in brief so that they understand that you were listening, then make a natural transition into your pitch, which is actually not framed as a pitch. It's more framed as you giving them a suggestion based on what they shared. So it more so seems that they're being led and educated rather than being sold. So you can say something like, okay, based on everything you shared from me, this is your current problem you're experiencing. This is your goal. This is what you've tried. Now from here, my recommendation would be fill in the blank with you explaining your offer. And one of my agency partners used this exact framework to close a $10,000 deal last week. So after you explain your offer to your prospect, you want to confirm that this would solve their problem, which would make working with you the only next logical step in solving this problem. So now when it comes to discussing pricing, you usually want the prospect to initiate this conversation about pricing when they feel it's right. And they usually do it at this exact point that I'm explaining when you confirmed that this offer would solve their problem. So the way my agency partners and I price is different from how most agencies price, and we follow the pay per qualified appointment model. And this is a good thing because it does a few things. Number one, you instantly differentiate yourself from other agencies who do a pay per lead lead model or retainers, because retainers and pay per lead, they don't make it a safe deal for the prospect, right? And in business, you always want the prospect to know that you're in a situation where there's shared incentive for things to work well, right? You want it to be shared upside and downside, because they might have paid a retainer company that didn't bring them results, or they might have done pay per lead, and once they call the leads, they actually don't answer the phone, they're broke or unqualified, which is what makes it an unsafe deal. So when you do pay per qualified appointment, it makes it a more transactional offer in which they know exactly what they're paying for. Because even me personally, who's paid tens of thousands of dollars for high ticket offers, I want to know precisely what I'm paying for. I don't want it to be any gray area. And when the prospect knows exactly what they're paying for, and we can lay out the math and the social proof that shows that they will get ROI, it gives you power when pricing. For example, with HVAC, we know HVAC business owners charge anywhere from 5 to 25K per job, right? So let's say 15K on average. So we'll say our offer is 15 qualified appointments at $600 per appointment. That would make it $9,000 in total. And before we even present our offer, we would already know about their business's metrics, right? When we're asking them questions about their business in the earlier phase of the call. So we would know how many appointments to get them and what their close rate is, so they can get thousands of dollars in ROI. We can get them 15 appointments and they close 30%, which is about 4.5, let's say 4 to be safe. An average of $15,000 per deal for them. That means that they can make $60,000 back after working with us. And this way they know that the ROI of your offer isn't theoretical. It's based on the metrics of their business and their prices. So now your offer doesn't look like them spending $9,000. It looks like them investing $9,000 to make $60,000 back. And I want to touch back again on pre-handling objections. We want to do our best to handle these objections before they show up. Sometimes they still do show up in the end, and I'll get into that. So we want to know, have they worked with any AI or marketing agencies in the past? And if they haven't, then why haven't they? We want to know, did you not work with any agency before? Was it because of fear? Was the price too high? Like, why haven't you considered this before? And then you might discover that they haven't taken this opportunity before because they think that the price is too high. Boom, there you have it. You're able to handle a pricing objection before it shows up later. And I just showed you how our offer and our social proof does a lot of the heavy lifting, but to warm their mind up and already start to reframe them so you can handle that objection, you can help them focus more on what there is to gain rather than what they're spending, right? You have to help them acknowledge that with anything big that you're gonna get in life, you have to make some sort of investment, whether it's time or money. And if they continue to hold off decisions like that, they're just gonna stay where they are. And if they do tell you that they've worked with an AI agency or marketing agency before, but they've been burned, and this is where you can also use social proof once again to crush this objection. You can say, okay, I've had John who had a similar experience to you, but once we started working with him and we did A, B, and C, he ended up getting this result. And at the end of the call, a common objection that you might get is one that doesn't really look like an objection, which is the I have to talk to my business partner line. And if you've been on any amount of sales calls, you've probably heard that before. And the way I try to handle this is by scheduling the call with them and their business partner, so I can just avoid having this objection altogether. But if they still do say that, you can ask them, if your business partner was on the call right now, what do you think they would say? They might say, oh, I think he would say it's good. I might think it's bad. Then once they answer, you can ask some follow-up questions and find out what the real objection is and handle that head on, instead of, dealing with the smoke screen that they're giving you. Because it's not always just their business partner. Sometimes it actually is, and they want to, have the courtesy of letting them know, but oftentimes it's just a smoke screen, and you have to blow past the smoke screen and figure out what they're actually concerned about. And when I say smoke screen, I just mean fake objections, something that they'll say in lieu of not giving you the real answer. And another smoke screen they can give you is, let me think about that. Again, if you've been on any amount of sales calls, you've probably heard that. Now, the way I handled that is I ask them, okay, when you go and think about it, what are you going to think about? And that way you can figure out any remaining concerns that they actually have. So again, you can handle the real objection. And if you do all of this, then within a matter of 45 minutes or however long your sales call is, you would have transformed your AI infrastructure offer from something that's mysterious but they see potential in, to something that's a no-brainer transactional offer where they know exactly what they're paying for. Because these people don't care about just buying AI, they care about buying more ROI for their business. And this is how we're able to charge $9,000 upfront per client. And that's the end of the video. If you have any questions, just make sure to leave a comment below and I'll definitely respond to you. And if you're serious about scaling your AI agency to $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 per month, then click the link in the description and check out the agencies I've helped scale past 10 grand very recently. And that's it. Until next time.